I wasn't going to call it out, and you have to call him out. He's new. Don't pick on the new guy.
He's not really new anymore. He's been here for like 2 months.
All right.
So.
Surprised you noticed.
Yeah.
He's actually been here for 3 months, Martin.
Damn, all right. First one, he didn't say anything.
All right, let's talk about the match. Obviously, there, he probably thinks it's funny that he's eating a banana and he's being filmed for this one.
Kind of funny.
So it is kind of funny. So Splyce versus Fnatic. Obviously, yesterday we had Trashy on the desk. He said, hey, I think we can challenge Fnatic in this one. So where did they drop the ball?
Multiple places, obviously. I actually think Splyce, the first 20 minutes, was fairly competitive in this game here. I never really felt like Wunder got into the game on Olaf, which was a big problem, especially later, compared to his counterpart, the good old Gamsu on Gnar, who had some fantastic team fights, which was very important for the mid-game ones. And I felt like both comps were fine. I felt like both teams were even. It was just more Fnatic actually played better in these later team fights.
There was just a couple individual matchups that ended up going in favor for Fnatic. We had Gamsu getting a big CS lead early on. He was like up 20, 30 CS. In the later stages of that early game, we had Spirit completely outpacing Trashy. And then Trashy, in an attempt to catch up, kind of went for some invades or plays on the aggressive side of the map, and they kind of backfired a few times. And I think that set the tone for the early game.
Yeah, you guys were mentioning Gamsu, his CS lead. You also guys want to take another look at one of the TPs from him early?
So there's this phase in the game where Fnatic has a lead, right? So Gamsu, right now, he pushed up, he based, I think, and he's coming back with items. And he's doing trucks, and he's ready to meet Olaf again and just keep putting him in the dumpster. And right here, while he's doing trucks, he's going to go for the teleport. So that is likely not a call that he made. This is the team, Fnatic, saying, you know what, Gamsu, come TP in. And not much comes of this play. I like the setup. I like that you go for it. You have the room to go for these plays when you're this far ahead. But now, Wunder is allowed to catch up for free. Gamsu can't challenge him in the top lane, and he gets put behind. And I just want to throw the spotlight on a player that gets so much criticism very often when he falls behind, and just show you guys, like, sometimes it is not always up to the player. If now this game spiraled out of control and Gamsu started losing this matchup, which is, you know, not as easy for Gnar as one thinks, into the Olaf, then it could have been on that TP, for example.
In before it was Gamsu's call. He was screaming for the team, I'm coming, guys, I'm coming.
Gamsu's like, yeah, that's my TP. Well, then I can go back to this segment and be like, no, you're wrong.
I mean, again, the thing about Gamsu is, laning-wise, I don't think he's the strongest top laner. Actually, if you look at like CS at 10 and 20, he's actually one of the worst in EU LCS. But when it comes to being, again, the team player, when it comes to reacting when the team needs him, and when it comes to playing team fights, I actually think he's doing really well, which is also one of the reasons they keep putting him on these tanks so often. Gnar's a bit of a mix, so that's why I like Gnar for him, because you can do okay in lane, especially once you get a few levels, but also in team fights you can be super impactful.
Let's take a look at some of the team fights. 4 for 2, a Fnatic Dragon as well.
Oh, love it.
You love it?
Look at Gamsu in this fight here. I mean, this is just going to be a great setup from him once Dragon goes down.
Yeah, just really good, what we call like micro decision making. He switches targets very often, so he's going in, he's drawing the aggro right now already on Sencux. And in the later stages of the fight, and even multiple fights after this, Gamsu always knows when to switch targets and engage.
It's not over yet. I mean, he sees another opening for himself, goes in, there he goes, stun on 2 members, setting up Rekkles for more damage from long range, and suddenly you win the fight. Compare that to what the Olaf did in this fight. He ran in, he looked at 2 guys from Fnatic, and he was
very fiercely, however.
He did. He was, I mean, aggressive, you know, running straight at them. Proper Danish Viking here, you know. And then he just gets poked a little bit, both places, both in the front and in the behind, and then he dies. So, not exactly the same impact, not on the player, more on the Olaf pick with a Black Cleaver who never really got to do anything in his laning phase, also due to the lane swap, so he was much weaker. But that's where these individual plays in team fights on Gnar suddenly become very impactful, because he was actually the guy setting up so many things for Fnatic.
And we need to see more of this version of Gamsu. And even last split, we were like, you know, Gamsu versus Gatsu, you know, which is it going to be? But I want to see more of these plays where he's really just smart in his approach to the team fights, knows to select which targets to flash aggressively for, know when to flash in aggressively, and also when to change, you know, once these guys are out of range for the backline, you know, let's just switch to a different target that we can now focus down. He created so much space for Rekkles.
How much do you like to see Gamsu on his like signature Gragas instead? Like, do you think that it's not really a good pick for him? Can you say that?
No, I think Gragas and Gnar are probably 2 picks I like to see him play. MIkyx, and let's add in an Echo as an example, is picks I don't want to see him play, because that's picks where he will lose lane really hard.
Yeah.
I think picks where he can do okay, at least in the laning phase, and just stay even at best, and then have an impact in team fights, benefits Fnatic quite a lot, because Spirit wants to play this style where he can find the enemy jungler. You can't do that if your lanes are losing, so whenever they pick like MIkyx, Spirit is also useless, and then the entire Fnatic team suffers.
Also, Spirit is just a jungler that likes to be on his own, you know, invade the enemy.
Sure.
He's kind of, I think he played, at least last split, he played very similar to Trick, where he goes in, if you have winning lanes, you just let them win 1v1 ever so slightly, but you secure the 1v1 for them as well, with some vision, with deep invades, locking the enemy jungler down in his jungle. And therefore, you need some stronger matchups. If you want to play this style, like an aggro Nidalee with a MIkyx, just it doesn't synergize that well. And this game, Spirit was up like 50 CS at one point, 120 versus like 70 or 80 at this point. It was just crazy.
Yep. Also, our player of the game in this one on is the aggro Nidalee, one of his favorite picks, and making everything happen for Fnatic. What?
I like how the casters went completely different direction, and we were like, yeah, it was Gamsu, was it
Or
Rekkles? Maybe they
Rekkles,
played really well. Spirit, all right, you know
Yeah.
what? I'll take it, you know, because I think a lot of the Fnatic members played extremely well, and Spirit, as you said, were able to play his 1v1 style. Also in team fights on Nidalee, a lot of junglers can't really do anything.
Oh, he went in. He went
Yeah,
ham.
he finds a few targets here and there, and he gets to like assassinate someone. So definitely well deserved, and we have to agree with the casters.
The viewers don't know what you're talking about, by the way. So
yeah.
we had
Oh,
a vote
yeah.
system for the
There's-
player of
yeah.
the game.
There's a vote system for player of the game.
Yeah.
Everybody weighs in their vote. Final vote goes to the color caster or the caster pairing of the game. We were like, you know, Rekkles had a lot of
Yeah,
space, but Gamsu was creating the
Gamsu.
space. And then
We like
turns out-
space here, and they just like good players, so that's why they win.
Well, it's cool. Curveballs, we have to roll with the punches. So over in the LCS studio, meanwhile, H2K is going up against Vitality, and you're keeping an eye on that game. And I feel like I'm sure actually,
You feel it in the air?
that we can have a live check-in with that game.
We do have a live check-in right now. It's been a game where H2K has been in control, especially Freeze on this Ashe here has been actually hitting a lot of good arrows and setting up a lot of kills. And you can see he's sitting on 8 assists, and he's not being greedy and stealing kills.
Yeah, and I just like the H2K composition. I'm a big fan of Ashe and Zyra as a combination because it disengages well and you have the engage component of the Ashe. Works so well with at least 2, just from making picks everywhere. You do need to get ahead with this comp, so you definitely need to get the picks. And in this game, Freeze was landing a lot of arrows, and there was follow-up from the team.
Yeah, so overall, H2K has been playing actually a very high-level game as well, something we really want to see now from these top teams, because they have to be better than everyone else, so everyone else can kind of learn from them. And H2K in this one, I mean, probably would be proud except for that one, just missing by, but tough one to hit. And it's actually something Freeze were talking about when he was on the desk with us, and he was saying his coach were telling him, just fire your arrow on cooldown, you know, just constantly fire it every single time, even though you might not hit it, just go for it, because in case you hit it, we get that kill, and we get the tower.
Every shot you don't take is one you miss.
Did you guys catch the banter on Twitter, by the way, from Jankos before the game, tweeting, "Hey, Nukeduck, which one trick will you play, Zillion or Victor in this game?" Yeah, a definition of one trick, and he named 2. I'm just not calling him out, but it is Zillion and a Victor in that game.
That's a good point.
All right, that game is
I
still...
think we need to call that out on Twitter. Shots still.
Vitality and H2K are still playing over there in the studio, so you guys can go and check in on that game. But over here with Fnatic up after a win in Game 1, we need to step away. Splyce will get their chance to fire back when we return.